Yes, so today we are going to learn about ransomware attack and like how ransomware attack affects the organizations and how we can protect ourselves from ransomware attack. And we are also going to demonstrate it. So like we are going to practically demonstrate actual ransomware attack that how the ransomware like encrypts your data. So that's what we are going to do today. So yeah, stay tuned till the end of the meeting and the end of the workshop, I mean, so that we can cover each and every topic. And also, if you guys have any kind of doubts, then do let me know. I would love to answer your doubts. So, yeah, first thing is ransomware attack is a growing threat nowadays. Can anyone tell me what is a ransomware attack? You guys are like allowed to open your mic and answer the questions. Can anyone in the like even in the chat, can anyone tell me what is a ransomware attack? Uh, Mohammed Nazir Afzal, can you please turn off sharing your screen? Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, all right, no issue. So let me clarify. So basically, ransomware is an like we can say growing attack nowadays, and ransomware is one of the biggest threat, like one of the big most common attack that is happening to like harm the people or we can say organizations nowadays. Attackers encrypt the data and ask for ransom. Exactly. That's what the ransomware attack is. So basically, the ransomware is one kind of malware, we can say. Ransomware is a type of malware, and in ransomware attack, attacker like targets your organization or your network through different methods, through maybe another backdoor or through social engineering, and somehow installs a ransomware, which is one kind of malware into your system. And once you execute that ransomware, or once that ransomware is opened into your system, it will encrypt all the like your personal files and your users data, each and everything. It will be like encrypted through the ransomware. And later on, once everything is encrypted, the like attackers party will ask you for the ransom money. So they'll, the ransomware, the attacker will specifically charge a few, like maybe we can say $100,000, or it can go up to like there are no limits for this kind of. It basically depends on the organization, but generally ransomware attack are huge, like that they cause huge like financial losses. So yeah, ransomware attack is a big threat nowadays, and it is very like it is we can say evolving threat. So it is like growing day by day. So awareness about the ransomware is also one of the like important factor that we should have. And yeah, there are many ways that like using which attacker can launch a ransomware attack. First and we can say most common nowadays is the social engineering, because the websites and the system are secured enough that no one can directly find vulnerability and directly inject these kind of attacks into it. But if there is any human error, if human himself is not aware about the like ransomware or other things, then using the social engineering techniques, attackers generally like launch their ransomware attack. So this is one of the most common factor. Another one is the we can say finding the common vulnerabilities and all. So using the remote code execution or other vulnerabilities, they can also launch a ransomware attack into your system. So this is a thing. Then let's just read this content and understand what is ransomware. So ransomware, a malicious software that holds data hostage, has become an increasingly prevalent and devastating threat in the digital age. These attacks can cripple businesses, disrupt critical infrastructure, and have severe financial and reputational consequences for the victim. So basically, this is what ransomware is. And that's the reason that like I am doing this workshop on ransomware, because there I noticed that there are like very less we can say awareness regarding the ransomware. But generally, the target for ransomware attack are not just like normal people like us. Generally, ransomware attacks, ransomware organization target the like big organizations so they can get enough ransom money from it. And there is a service going on called RAAS. Like if like is there anyone here who works in cloud environment or knows about cloud computing, then you might have heard these three things called SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, then platform as a service, and software as a service. Just like these, there is a new service going out, which is obviously illegal, called RaaS, ransomware as a service, where illegal black attacking groups, attack through ransom, like they launch ransomware attacks into different organizations, system, or network. And once the data is encrypted, they ask for a huge amount of like money from them in order to decrypt the data. And obviously, you can't trust that even after paying like required ransom amount, your data will be decrypted. So that's another risk, that even if you provide the required or asked money, even in that case, it is not mandatory that your data will be recovered. So this is what ransomware attack is. And let's understand it in a more detailed way. And once we understand what is ransomware, then we will also like practically, demonstrate it. So yeah, understanding ransomware, how it works. So first, like step of ransomware is ransomware infects system through various vectors, such as phishing emails, vulnerable software, or unsecured network access. So basically, like if your network is unconfigured or your softwares are not, strong enough against the cyber attacks, then your system might get affected. Like we can say there is a opening for obviously a potential ransomware attack. So using that weakness or the vulnerability, the attacker can inject ransomware attacks into your system, or they can insert a ransomware or any kind of backdoor into your system, and through that they can launch the ransomware attack into your system. So this is the first step of a ransomware, which is infection. Second is encryption. Once the ransomware is entered into system and it infected the system, it will start encrypting the files. Once inside, the ransomware encrypts the victim's file, making them inaccessible without a decryption key. Now, ransomware generally works on asymmetric encryption. Like anyone have idea here about the encryption, symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption? So this is the concept of cryptography module. Single key, exactly. So in the asymmetric encryption, basically there is a single. Let me just explain both of this in a brief. So for an example, let me share my screen again. Just a second. We'll be like learning more of a technical part today. All right. Okay, I made a mistake. Actually, I was supposed to share my whole screen. All right. So let me open my notepad. Yes. All right. So for an example, there are two types. First is asymmetric and other is symmetric. So in this asymmetric encryption, there is a single key. And for an example, in the asymmetric encryption, like if we encrypt a specific, that this is our plain text, our normal text, okay, and we encrypted it using like this is the encrypted text, okay, and the key that we used is ABC. So ABC, all right. So ABC is the key which will be used to encrypt and also revert this process and decrypt the data. I hope my concept is clear. So in the asymmetric encryption, the same key is used for both encryption and decryption of data. And in the asymmetric, there are concept of public and private key. So there are two, we can say in short, we can understand that there are two different keys which will be like used for, encryption and decryption. Yes. Do you have any doubts?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But actually, for symmetric encryption, we have single key, right? And for asymmetric encryption, we have two keys.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Your voice is actually not clear. Can you check that?
Yes, sir. One second. Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're audible now.
Yes, sir. But actually, for symmetric encryption, we have single key, and for asymmetric encryption, we have two keys, right? If I'm not
Uh,
wrong.
yeah, so that's what I told you. Oh, okay, all right, all right. I apologize for the like confusion. Actually, I got confused by myself.
Okay.
So yeah, in the symmetric encryption, we have a single key, and in the asymmetric encryption, we have two different keys. First is a public key. Let me just type public key, and another is private key. Okay, so the like the ransomware attack that we are going to perform today will be like worked on symmetric encryption. So the ransomware attack that we will be launching today for the demonstration will work on symmetric encryption. There will be a single key for both encryption and decryption. Let's understand a bit about public and private key. So basically, public key is accessible for everyone because it is public. Like from the name itself, we can understand that public key is accessible for everyone, and private key is like privately accessible. So anyone else, cannot access the private key directly unless we steal it. So basically, in the asymmetric encryption, these are two different keys. So if the data is encrypted using public key, then it must be decrypted using private key. And if the data is encrypted by private key, then it must be like decrypted by public key. So for an example, each and everyone has its own pair of public and private key. For an example, in the meet, let's pick someone like Lokesh. Okay, so Lokesh basically has its own pair of public and private key, and I have my own pair of public and private key. So if I encrypt some data from my private key, then it must be encrypted by his public key. Or in the second case, if the data is encrypted by my public key, then his private key must be used to decrypt the data. There is no other way of decrypting it. So this is what asymmetric encryption is. In that we have two different keys which are used for the encryption and decryption. And in the symmetric one, we have a single key which is used for both encryption and decryption of our data. So basically, in the encryption part, basically, the ransomware attack in the encryption part, it basically affects the data of the victim and it encrypts the data of that victim. And accordingly, like once the data is encrypted, they ask for the ransom money, as we can see, a ransom demand. So basically, this is how an actual ransomware attack works. And basically, like, do you know, guys, how you might wonder here that like if they are like asking for money, then we can just track their details set on which bank account or through what payment method they are asking their ransom amount. Then why we can't just track them and like catch them down? So the issue here is that they are using Web3, means they'll be, asking you to pay them in like bitcoins or cryptocurrency. And as you know, like if the blockchain technology is being used, you can't trace them. You cannot trace their Bitcoin address or their like Bitcoin wallet. So basically, they provide a wallet address, generally asking for bitcoins. Generally ask for like payments in the Bitcoin that provide me this much amount of Bitcoin into this specific address. And it is like, as you know, that we cannot track the, we can say, wallets in Web3 or blockchain technology. Because crypto, like the encryption, or we can say not the encryption, but the cryptocurrency, they work on the like Web3. Can anyone tell me what is Web3 or blockchain? Is anyone here who knows about blockchain technology? All right, so no issues. Let me clear that basically blockchain technology works like there are each like copy of each document in all the devices in that chain. That is a specific chain of data. And in simple words, we can say that blockchain works mainly on hash codes, and it is nearly impossible to like trace the bitcoins or whatever the communication which is happening through like blockchain technology. So that's what like I can say it in the easiest way to explain you what is blockchain, because blockchain is a whole different like technology. There are like there are technical ways to explain blockchain too, but for now this much knowledge about blockchain is enough for us to understand that we cannot trace them if they like ask about the ransom money in the bitcoin or other like crypto wallet. So yeah, let's see. After the slide, we have anatomy of ransomware attack. So first is entry point. Ransomware often exploits vulnerabilities in software, phishing attacks, or unsecure remote access to gain initial access to victim system. So basically, like first, as we like discussed before, that first they find a specific weak point, or we can say an entry point into a system using which they can enter the system. And the second one is lateral movement. Once inside, the malware spreads through the network, targeting critical system and data. So basically, once it is inside, it spreads through the whole network, and like it spreads into other devices in the same network too, and also encrypt their files. And at the final stage involves the encryption of file and the demand of ransom payment in exchange for the decryption key. So if you want the decryption key, like as we discussed, that without the decryption key, you cannot, revert back your data. Like there are ways, okay, there are also ways of preventing ransomware attack, and also like if the ransomware attack successfully happens and without paying ransom money, how we can revert back our data. But if we talk about the official or traditional process, then you must require a specific decryption key to in order to decrypt the data. So that's one issue. So all right, now basically let's just understand that what is the content in our next slide. So yeah, these are recent high profile ransomware cases. So we'll be going through some real life cases of ransomware. So if you guys know, like we had a word about this yesterday only, the WannaCry ransomware group, which exploited the vulnerability called like Eternal Blue. So I'm not sure if we like communicated about this yesterday or in the first day. But yeah, we did, had a word about this specific ransomware group. So ransomware, the WannaCry ransomware group is, yeah, we had a word about it on first day. So yeah, WannaCry ransomware group is like massive ransomware attack group and they launched a global ransomware attack that affected over 200,000 computers in more than 150 countries, disrupting critical infrastructure and services. And how they were like able to do such thing? They found that vulnerability called eternal blue, right? Like as we had a word about it that day, that the WannaCry ransomware group found a specific zero-day vulnerability in the Windows system in 2017 called Eternal Blue. And using that zero-day vulnerability, they exploited it and misused it to affect over 200,000 computers in all over the world in more than 150 countries. So they like basically they got their entry point. So like when we talk about entry point, this was the entry point that they used, the eternal blue vulnerability. So through this vulnerability, they got the remote shell of the system, and once they got shell, they injected a ransomware attack. So that's how this whole attack worked, and it was a massive ransomware attack that day, or like at that time. So yeah, the next is NotPetya. So, a destructive ransomware attack targeted businesses and government agencies, causing billions in damages worldwide. So, this is also a huge attack that happened in 2017 only. So, yeah, in the 2017, we have two big ransomware attacks, which are mentioned here. Then the next is Revil, a high-profile ransomware group responsible for numerous attacks, including the Kaseya supply chain breach and the JBS meat processing plants. So they targeted this meat processing plants and supply chains of like organization called Kaseya. So this attack is a recent one which was held in 2021. So and like at this date, we like basically as at NextGen CyberSafe, we do provide ransomware protection and recovery services. So we do get like lots of cases often about the ransomware attack, because like the our opposition countries, or we can say some countries who don't want India to grow, they like generally target our government websites or our startups website, or we can say our startups network infrastructure, because startup is a like thing they cannot afford like expensive cybersecurity services or training, because they are also startups. So the we can say attackers misuse it and they launch these kind of attacks into the startups, and they have no choice but to pay them because they want to secure their data and whole infrastructure, we can say the whole organization. So yeah, we get lots of cases of ransomware attacks often. And yeah, I also like specialize in ransomware and basically ransomware and ransomware recovery. So yeah, the next is the human impact of ransomware. First is financial losses. Ransomware attacks can result in significant financial losses, including ransom payments, recovery costs, and potential business disruption. Then next is data compromise. The loss of exposure of sensitive data can have devastating consequences for individuals and organizations, leading to privacy breaches and reputational damage. So basically, these are the like main two things that impact us as a human. First is financial losses. Obviously, as I mentioned, that startup like if we talk with like startups perspective, then they like lack when it comes for the funds and money, because they are also a startup and they face huge financial losses when these kind of attacks are launched. The next is data compromise. Obviously there are there are lots of sensitive data of users, or we can say basically see in the ransomware attack there are we can say no threat for leakage of data, because data is being encrypted, not being leaked here. So yeah, the like issue is that the data will be lost, not that the data will be leaked here. Right, in the other attacks you can say that data or the password or other details got leaked, but here the data will get encrypted. Now, for an example, like there is a organization or a startup or a company who have thousands or billions of users data, or we can say like millions of worth users data, right? And if all those data gets encrypted, then yeah, it's a huge data compromise for them, and also like psychological stress. The same thing causes psychological stress because yeah, it's like ransomware attacks bring, they generally ask for a huge ransom amount, and if you are not able to pay it, then you will lose your data permanently. You cannot get back your data in most of the cases if you like don't pay the ransom money and haven't followed any best practices. We'll also learn that how we can prevent like ransomware attacks, and also that if we fall for a ransomware attack or any ransomware attacks actually happens into our system, then what steps we can like take to get back our data without obviously paying the ransom money. So yeah, let's see the last topic. Like I mean the last we can say portion of our slide, and once it is done, we'll be going for practical. All right, I apologize. Maybe I faced some network issues. All right, so operational disruption. Can you guys kindly turn off your mic? Once you have any kind of doubt, you can obviously open it. Okay. So yeah, operational disruption. Widespread ransomware attacks can disrupt critical infrastructure and essential services, causing significant inconvenience and potential harm to the public. Now, why this thing happens? Basically, like for an example, in simple terms, we can say that if the organization is affected by ransomware attack, then all the like operations will get disrupted if you don't like have access to your data and your files. So your work will be heavily disrupted by these kind of attacks. So this was a brief introduction about ransomware. This is a like huge and very interesting topic, but this was just a brief introduction about ransomware, and now we are going to look at some practical stuff about ransomware. Because like explaining each and everything in 1 hour's duration is obviously not possible. So yeah, let's just go for the practical part of our workshop. Alright, so let me just set up my practical portion. Till then, if anyone have any kind of doubts, you can turn on your. So yeah, basically we have created a ransomware using like obviously we have created a simple Python script, not an actual ransomware, because we also like have to maintain the ethical guidelines. We cannot just directly make a actual ransomware in front of you guys and like launch an attack. But yeah, we will create a exact same scenario using like not an actual ransomware, but obviously a Python script which will be encrypting the data and also like leaving a ransom note. So basically there is a thing called ransom note in every ransomware attack. Okay, let me see what is the issue here. Okay, so there is a like thing called ransom note in every ransomware attack. So if any kind of ransomware attack is executed, then generally on your desktop or maybe on your like the folder where the ransomware is, you get a specific file called ransom note. And in the note, they'll explain that what actually happened here and how you can get back your data, because if the user will have no idea that who like launched this attack and how they, just a second, let me okay, let me just finish my explanation and I'll see that question. So yeah, once if the user has no idea that how he can recover his data or how he can pay to the scam or we can say attackers, then yeah, that is a big issue. So that's why they leave a specific note after doing the crime or we can say the attack. They leave a note for the user to read that explains that how they can recover the data and pay the ransom money. Will the attacker be able to access the data when ransomware attack happens? So yeah, attacker basically see like for an example, I get the reversal for your system. Okay, and before like launching my ransomware attack, I copy all of your files and paste into my system. Then even if your data is encrypted, but I will still have some copy of your data into my system. So yeah, I'll be able to access it in that case. And also if I am the attacker, then yeah, I can decrypt the data. But obviously if I decrypt the data into your system, then you will also be able to access. So generally, what they do is like basically the intention for ransomware attack is not to steal data in general cases, but they just encrypt the data. All they care about is money. If you give them the money, then they'll like in some cases they'll genuinely, decrypt your data and give it back to you. So if there is any ransomware attack like happening, then the main intention for these attack is not stealing data, but in few cases they do like get a copy of your data into the system so that they can, access it if needed, obviously. So that's one way that using which they can, access your data. So yeah, all right, and so we like basically I created a simple scenario here. Let me just delete this file. So yeah, I have a song here, then a PDF file, then also we can say a decrypt.py. This is the file that we'll be using for decryption, and this is a thumbnail for our YouTube video. So I like attached it as a image file. Let us also create a text file here called secret.txt. Okay, this is my secret file. No one should encrypt it. All right. So yeah, now what we are going to do is if we, access or open this specific file, then it will directly encrypt all of our files. Now, if we see in the file manager, we can see that okay. So we can see that all of our files here are like, affected by ransomware. It is locked. Each file has got an extension called .locked. Okay, and there is a ransom note here. If we read the ransom note, what it says, your file have been encrypted. To get back your file, please contact us at this specific email or send 1 Bitcoin to the wallet address. And here we are supposed to enter our wallet address. And generally, the email they use are, the temp emails, or we can say the email which aren't like, owned by them. They are generally compromised emails, or we can say some anonymous email which cannot be like easily traced. So that's the mail that they use. And another is that they like provide you with a specific wallet address on which you can send your data. So this is like, as you can see, the data is encrypted here, and obviously I made this specific ransomware specifically to affect this folder only, because if I make it to like encrypt each and every file of my system, then I will also lose lots of my files. So yeah, this is the thing, and here we have an encryption key. So we are using the symmetric encryption here. So yeah, this is the single key which will be like used for the encryption and also for the decryption. Now this is like in this case the key is in the like victims folder or system. But in an original ransomware attack, the key isn't accessible to the user, because if the key is accessible to user, then why would he pay you for the ransomware, or we can say the decryption, right? So here we have an encryption key, and all of our files here are locked. Now maybe few of you would wonder that what if I just remove this extension from behind lock, then will my file get back? No, the actual content inside the files have been encrypted. So even if we have the secret.txt here, if I remove this locked extension, the file would still be encrypted. My all of the content inside my file are encrypted now. So yeah, let me revert it back to normal. And now what I am going to do is basically I'm going to launch this decrypt.py Python file. And once I launch it, as you can see, my data is back to normal. Now, obviously, if I have this encryption key, this is the only way. By using this key, I can, decrypt the data. By without using this key, I cannot, decrypt the data or like encrypt it. So basically, let's just encrypt it again. And for an example, now we have the encryption key. If I modify the key, let me remember that this was originally the small b and I've changed it to capital. And now, if I try to decrypt it, then obviously it won't work, right? Invalid token. The decryption won't happen if my key is wrong here. So there is no way like to, decrypt the data without this original key. And in the actual ransomware attack, they ask for some specific ransom money or the bitcoins in order to, give you back your key or the key using which you can decrypt your data. Now we have the actual key here. Now if we try to decrypt our data again, as you can see, our data is back to normal and it is decrypted, right? We can access this and also the PDF file and also my secret text file. Yes, and this is our ransomware note. So this is how an actual ransomware attack like happens in the real life scenarios. And there are also ways you can, get your data back without paying the ransom money. So now let's understand how that thing like works. So basically, to get your data back without paying the ransom money, first option is that you can use system restore. If you, regularly create the system restore points into your, like we can say, your computer, then yeah, there is a way that using this you can, revert back to the original condition. For an example, I am creating a system restore today, and today my system and all my files are normal, and tomorrow I face a ransomware attack, then I can revert back to the point where I created that specific system restore. For an example, this is my like Windows right now at 839, or we can say let's say round figure 840. So at this time, all the settings, my wallpaper, my files, and each and every, like we can say, the whole my whole operating system will be like, there will be a specific copy of my all the settings and the files and everything. And if I face any kind of attacks tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I can just revert back to the condition on which I created that restore point. For an example, if my data is encrypted, then I can revert back my data to what it was on this specific time. But yeah, obviously the like disadvantage here is that we will, lose our data for 1 or 2 days. But at least rest of our data will be, remained untouched. But only the data loss will face is that between that specific time range that I created. We can say, for an example, if I created that system restore at this point and the ransomware attack happens after 2 days, then from this second to that specific ransomware attack, the data I got in between will be removed, but rest of the data, at least the rest of the data will be saved in this case. So first thing, or we can say first best practice to, protect yourself from ransomware is that do regular system backups, use system restore. And the same you can do with like if you are using another like thing that I would recommend is using the VDI, which is also known as virtual desktop environment, or we can say interface, not the environment, virtual desktop interface. So if you know, like there are softwares like we can say VMware and VirtualBox. So basically we can take snapshots in these softwares. So let's do one thing. Let's go to our VirtualBox and see how we can revert our data back from a ransomware attack. Okay, wait, where is my Kali machine? Maybe there are some issues. Just a second. Yeah, do you have any doubts? Hello. All right. Okay, so basically my machine is powering up. So once it start, we we'll see how we can create the snapshots and basically, save our data. So basically, this is my Kali Linux machine right now, and for an example, all of my settings and my current system state will be like saved in a, like we can say there will be a specific snapshot in the virtual desktop environment. We say it as like snapshot. Let's see where is the option for, yeah, this is the screenshot option, but there is a specific option in it called like taking a snapshot. Yeah, here, take snapshot. So once we take a snapshot of our system, that specific snapshot will save all of our files, all of, we can say, our settings and each and everything about our system. And once everything is saved, and for an example, if I am saving all my data at this moment, and tomorrow I am facing a ransomware attack, then I can, get my system back to the condition where on which point I took that snapshot, like all of my files and each and everything. We can say it is like a time machine. We can go back in time. That is the most like simple definition for this. All right, so basically now we what we can do here is, let me just create a document here called before attack. Hello, this is my data before ransomware attack. Okay, now for an example, there is a huge ransomware attack which caused the our system to lose the files and everything. Let me just remove it. Yeah, now for an example, let me do one thing. Let me first take the snapshot of my machine. So this is snapshot one, and let me just add the date and time, 16/10/2024 and 2045. This is the date and time of on which we took the snapshot. Okay, and let's just name it before attack. Okay, so we saved this whole snapshot of our system. Okay, so it is taking the snapshot here, and basically, so this will be, we can say this is a one kind of photograph of our system. Snap, from the word snapshot, we can, like in the simple terms, we can say this is one kind of photograph of our system. And once, like when we want to revert it back, we can revert back to the condition when we took this snapshot. So yeah, I think the snapshot has been taken. Yes, it is taken. Okay, so let me just corrupt my whole system now. So let me go to sudo su and kali, and now I'll be deleting my root directory, rm rf root. Okay, I have to use two. Okay, so many of files saying that operation is not permitted, but yeah, I know like most of my files will get deleted by using this specific thing. Okay, as you can see, the like error is not affecting us more. And as you can see here, like the files and the VPN and other things are already started to, okay, my system is corrupted now. So as you can see, my system stopped working because obviously I corrupted it. Right, so for an example, assume that we got into any kind of malware or ransomware attack, and this is what that happened to our system. Okay, so we'll just power off our machine, and now from here we can go to snapshot, and this is the current state, obviously, on which the ransomware attack is already happened, and this is the before attack. So let's just restore our system back to the before attack situation. Okay, and let's get back to that condition, and let me just restore it. Okay, so it is restored. And now if I'll open it, let's see. Let's hope that our system is back to like normal situation at the point of time when we took that snapshot. Because as you can see, it is restoring my virtual machine to the state where we like took that uh like made this file. And as you can see, we can, access this file, and our system is back accessible. Like if you notice, there were like different kind of errors showing up here, but all those errors are gone because the files and settings which were disrupted by me were like, reverted back to the original condition. So this is how we can prevent, like, save ourself or our system from ransomware attack. So you can just revert back to normal situation condition of your system. And another like same kind of thing is system restore in Windows. But obviously, like this is the main system, and if your main system gets affected, then it could, affect you more like then if you get affected for a specific virtual machine. For an example, if this is my VMware of my Kali, if that is affected, then at least my main OS will remain safe, right? And I can, just restore my snapshot. So, like because of this specific thing, using virtual desktop interface is a like, good way to overall keep the, safety and security of your data. So you can just revert it back if these kind of condition happen of ransomware attack, or even if your data is in corrupted due to any other issues, then even in that case your main system will remain unharmed, and you can just revert the system back to its original condition using the snapshots. These were the methods that you can use to prevent ransomware attack, and if the ransomware attack actually happens, then this is what you can do to get your data back without paying the ransom amount. Right. So that was it. And basically after that, yeah, I have my recording on. So yeah, anything else? Like if you guys have any kind of doubts, you can definitely tell me. I would love to answer your doubts. And yeah, one more thing I want, like after the workshop, I'll, uh, drop a poll into the group saying about like the next topic of our workshop. Because the thing is that there are two situations here. So many of you guys are, beginners, and so many of you guys are already like, already have decent skills into cybersecurity. So if I'm teaching the basic things, then those guys are not interested into the workshop. And if I'm teaching the advanced things, then it is like, not understandable for beginners. So basically, we will do a poll into the group, and what is the like what the majority votes will say, we'll keep that topic for our next workshop. So that's what our plan is for our next workshop. So yeah, any doubts from your side, guys? You can, yeah, like you guys are open to turn on your microphone and ask your doubts. In malware analyst. Malware analyst like is a, if you can say, yeah, this is one kind of best practices that you can use for, but the malware analysis is a whole different thing, like in which that involves, we can say, reverse engineering, or we can say, yeah, like you basically analyze the whole malware or the malicious file, that what exactly is it doing and who made it and stuff like that. So basically, like this kind of knowledge obviously is required if you are going into malware analysis, but this doesn't necessarily help you in malware analysis, because this is to revert our data back, not to like determine that what is the malware or the ransomware and who launched the attack and everything. So that is what the malware analysis work is. And this is the thing that I taught here, is that how you can revert your data back and how you can save yourself from malware and ransomware. And yeah, one more thing I would recommend is that there is a tool in all of the Windows device. There are very like few people who know about this tool called MRT. Just a second, I will answer that question right now. Let me just show this. So basically, there is a tool in Windows called MRT, Microsoft Windows Malicious Software Removal Tool. There are very few people who know about this tool. This is like apart from the Windows Defender, this is a whole different tool which scans your entire system for malwares and ransomwares. And if it is able to like find any kind of ransomware, that it will remove it. This is very powerful tool and very underrated tool of Microsoft, which is like by default implemented to all of the Windows system. If you want to execute it, you can just type Windows R and then MRT and then enter. So then this tool will be opened for scanning. Just this is for scanning the malware or ransomwares into your system. All of the malicious files. What exam want to write in cybersecurity department in police? Like what is your exact question? I'm not even able to like understand what are the questions that come into the like police exam, or what exam want write in cybersecurity department in police? Can you just clarify your question more so I can like understand it? Are you saying that what is the exam that you will have to give to go into cybersecurity department in police? All right, okay. So for that, like, if we talk about a specific, there are like this is the traditional process. Like you can first of all, first step is to like you will have to get a degree into cybersecurity or whatever the field related to it. Then education is obviously one of the most important factor there, because like if you go for job, there are like even chances that you will get a job on the basis of your skills. But if you are like targeting to enter government sector, then they will heavily rely both. This is actually we can say dark reality, that they will heavily rely on your education rather than your skills. So even if you like have skills but you don't have much education, then entering government is very difficult. I'm not saying that you cannot do it without it, but yeah, it is like difficult to do so. Then you'll have to get the certifications like CISSP, also known as Certified Information System and Security Professional, or CEH. And basically you will need to have skills into like digital forensics and cybercrime investigation. I'm studying cyber forensics. What want to do next, sir? Okay, what are you supposed to do next? So basically, first of all, you have to sharpen your skills into the forensics and all first. Then another thing, if you like, you can do is you can make a good network if you want to. Like, there are if you talk about a traditional way into entering it, that it will be very difficult. What you can do is if you have enough skills and all, then you can basically join the cyber volunteer. You can become a cyber police volunteer, and you can work with them solving the cybercrime cases and all using your cyber forensic skills. And once you have a great connection and everything, they might hire you as a third party hacker. Wait, yes, okay. So they might hire you as a third party hacker into like their organization too. If you can't officially enter as police, then obviously they need like they have some hackers hired who are not officially into police but are working for them. Or you can also go for police training if you have enough skills into forensics and all. So that's what you can do if like you ask me what is the good way to do this thing. Okay. What's your opinion on CSV13 exam for beginners? Is it better than OSCP? Okay, if you like compare to the OSCP, if you talk about for the beginner, then yeah, CSV13 is a great option. But obviously, it is not better than OSCP. OSCP has its own, we can say, league in the market. OSCP is on whole different level. I know CHV13 is also AI powered, so yeah, that is a good option for you as a beginner. But if you compare with OSCP, then I would still prefer OSCP over CHV13. But yeah, companies are, heavily demanding for CHV13. So yeah, you can first go for CHV13. All right, you are welcome. Okay, anything else? Actually, when I created this meet, I actually set an time limit for the meet. So maybe that's the reason that why they are closing the meet now. No issues. Okay, like if you guys have any doubts, then yeah, we can create another meet and I'll send it in the group so we can discuss about all your doubts. So is there anyone here who have any kind of doubt? Then kindly just let me know in the chat that you do have a doubt, so I can create another meet and send it to you guys. Or else we'll again meet tomorrow. You can ask your doubts tomorrow if you want. All right, I think the meet is going to end. So yeah. Okay, guys, then we'll meet tomorrow. And if you guys have any doubt, you can personally message me. You can get my number from group and personally message me if you guys have any.